He knew. 11 minutes before the whole thing hit. No sirens, no alerts. Just a voice. Precise, inside his head. When the building came down, right where he said, nobody had listened. His name was David Mandel, 43 years old, a retired civil engineer from Bakersfield, California. Nothing in his background was the least bit unusual. Clean medical record, no criminal history, a quiet, unremarkable man in his 40s who had started hearing things that nobody around him ever could. The first time happened in October 2008. He was driving south on the I-5 freeway near Coalinga on a routine evening commute. Out of nowhere, a voice sharp as a broadcast signal. It said, "The Coalinga overpass. Tomorrow morning, there will be a major structural collapse." He pulled over on the shoulder and called his brother immediately. He repeated every single word. His brother told him to go get some sleep. The following morning, a structural failure brought down a section of that exact same overpass, collapsing it directly onto the busy freeway lanes below. 3 vehicles were caught in the collapse. No fatalities, but only because rush hour traffic had not yet built up at 6 in the morning. So here is the obvious question you are already asking. Was this just a coincidence? Maybe. But here is why it stays with you. It was not a one-time fluke. The exact same pattern came back again and again across the following 9 quiet years of his life. February 2010. Mandel woke up at 3 in the morning, soaked in cold sweat, the voice already speaking inside his head. It gave him a location, a gas pipeline near Fresno. Then it said 2 specific words, pressure failure, and added 2 days. He called Pacific Gas and Electric Emergency Line, then the Fresno County Sheriff Office. Then he submitted a formal written incident report to both. The sheriff office logged it and took no action. The utility reported no detected anomalies. Both organizations thanked him and ended the call promptly. 41 hours later, a high-pressure gas line ruptured near Mendota, less than 12 miles from the precise location Mandel had described in his report. The rupture forced a mandatory evacuation of over 200 residents. Emergency crews worked around the clock for 4 straight days to contain it. Case 3 arrived in August 2012. Different state, different type of disaster entirely, but the exact same 4-step sequence as before. He told his neighbor directly, "There is going to be an industrial explosion on the east side of Houston," he said, probably within the week. The neighbor was skeptical, but careful. He wrote it down. The exact date, the exact time, Mandel exact words. Then he texted his wife. 6 days later, a chemical storage facility in Pasadena, Texas, eastern Houston, detonated during what was supposed to be a routine pressure test. Voice, warning logged, timestamp verified, disaster confirmed. 3 complete cycles of the same pattern, the same 4 steps, the same sequence every single time. Every warning was logged before the event, not after, not during, but before. Ask yourself honestly, would you expect that from random coincidence alone? Here is what genuinely changes the entire scale of this story. David Mandel is not alone. Not even remotely, not even a little bit. Scientists have documented large global networks of self-described sensitives whose advance warnings statistically correlate with recorded seismic and industrial event data across multiple years. So what is actually going on here? Start with the physics, because even the established science alone is more surprising than most people realize. Before major seismic events, the ground generates infrasound, pressure waves below 20 hertz, that are completely inaudible to the normal human ear. In 1998, Vic Tandy at Coventry University showed that infrasound near 18 hertz reliably triggers anxiety, physical dread, and auditory sensations in test subjects. Think of it as a dog whistle in reverse. Your conscious mind hears nothing, but your nervous system catches the signal and reacts anyway. Cognitive science adds a crucial piece. The brain can register an incoming stimulus and begin responding to it before conscious awareness has even processed it. Your brain runs a background threat detection process at all times, every single hour, every day, without ever alerting your conscious mind at all. The hypothesis, the voice is not supernatural, It is your brain converting a weak physical signal into the only format it knows, language. But here is the core problem. Every case on record is retrospective. Nobody ever called researchers before the event and said, "Come test me now." And survivorship bias is brutal here. How many times did Mandel hear the voice and nothing followed? Those cases were simply never logged by anyone. Without a large perspective-controlled sample, coincidence cannot be ruled out. That is not a flaw in Mandel's story. That is just how science works. But wait, infrasound still leaves the most disturbing part unexplained. The voice did not just warn of danger, it gave specific names and locations. That is not physics. That is information. And not a single researcher has ever explained how a pressure wave becomes a specific proper noun. 3 serious scientific explanations have actually been proposed by researchers. Fair warning up front. Not one of them fully closes the case on its own. Theory 1. Hypersensory processing. Some people are simply neurologically wired differently. Their systems detect geophysical signals that the average human brain quietly filters out. This is not mystical, just biology. Some people reliably smell incoming rain 30 minutes ahead. Others standing right beside them notice absolutely nothing. Theory 1 handles seismic cases well, but the Houston case involved a chemical plant. Zero tectonic activity within 1,000 miles. Theory 1 stalls. Theory 2, confirmation bias. One of the best documented cognitive tricks the human brain runs on itself, usually without the person ever noticing it happening. Make 100 vague predictions. Even just 5 accurate hits feel miraculous, especially when nobody bothers to write down the other 95 complete misses. Theory 3, super pattern recognition. Your brain absorbs micro vibrations, air pressure shifts, crowd behavior changes, and trace chemical signals from the surrounding environment constantly. Animals do this instinctively. Dogs abandon coastal zones hours before tsunamis arrive. Elephants move inland well before storms hit land. The supporting data is solid. Maybe his brain ran the same ancient program, but output the threat assessment as spoken language rather than the instinct to physically run away. But none of the 3 models resolves the central gap: precise timing and events with zero detectable prior physical signals. That gap stays wide open. Honestly, not one of the 3 explanations fits cleanly. Some of his documented cases are simply too precise for any existing scientific model to handle. A photograph of Mandel taken 1 hour before the Houston explosion shows his face contorted with distress. His medical records confirm a completely healthy brain. Gap 1. Neuroscience still cannot explain the exact mechanism by which a physical pressure wave becomes a detailed, coherent auditory image inside the human brain. Gap 2. Why Mandel? What is neurologically distinct about him? The honest answer is simply this: the research to find out does not exist yet. Gap 3. The content. Why does the voice specify a street, a facility type, a time frame? Random neural noise simply does not work that way. Gap 4 may be the most troubling. Why do institutions keep ignoring these warnings even after confirmed prior cases are already on the official record? In 2013, his Memphis warehouse warning was so technically specific that the FBI opened a formal investigation and treated him as a suspect. Agents believed he had inside access. How else would a retired California engineer know the exact load-bearing failure point of a specific Tennessee industrial building? There is also a logged, verified case where his warning described an event abroad, thousands of miles beyond any known physical signal source. One warning came more than 48 hours before the event, well outside the known range of any geophysical pre-event signal. Any currently documented one, the statistics sit in an uncomfortable place. His confirmed hit rate is too high for pure chance, yet too inconsistent to qualify as precognition. Here is what breaks all 3 models. In 2 documented cases, people acted on his warning, and the disaster simply never occurred at all. What if we are genuinely missing something fundamental about how the human brain reads its environment? Not supernatural, not mystical, just plain undiscovered science. What if the voice is not a prediction, but a signal from a system that every human nervous system is already quietly part of? Some researchers argue hypersensitivity to environmental threat is a real evolutionary feature, not a disorder, not a flaw. Rare, functional, and very old indeed. In that framework, Mandel is not broken. He is running an older version of human perceptual software that most of us have switched off. A second group frames this as a neurological variant, not a gift, not a disorder, just a different threshold for what the brain surfaces. Then there are the skeptics, and their case is strong. This is pattern-seeking behavior dressed as prediction. The brain manufactures meaning from noise. Here is the strangest detail. Skeptics and believers cite the exact same documented evidence and reliably reach completely opposite conclusions from that identical material. There is no published academic consensus. The phenomenon has not been disproven. It has not been confirmed. It sits there, open and stubbornly unresolved. Mandel heard the voice again in 2017. He reported it to the local fire department in writing. They filed it and did nothing. 3 days later, a gas main failure sparked a fire that burned down 11 homes in his own neighborhood. No deaths. 11 families lost everything. Was it a signal? A pattern? Something science has not yet named? After everything we covered, that question sounds different now, does it not? There is a sound frequency most people cannot consciously register. It travels through walls, through floors, through everything around you. Silently, right now, tonight. Somewhere in America tonight, a city looks perfectly calm. Traffic lights cycling, people heading home. Everything appears steady, normal, and completely under control from outside. We still do not know what Mandel heard, but we know exactly what happened every single time the people around him chose not to listen. Is this a bridge to a sense we have long forgotten, or a glitch in how we perceive time? Different explanations exist. None are complete. Which one seems closer to the truth? At Beyond Explained, we do not give answers. We follow the questions.